The wealth management industry operates as an integrated ecosystem designed to build a protective shield around a client's entire financial life. While it involves investing, the primary objective is the structural coordination of every dollar a person owns. This list of services demonstrates that actual scope. The ecosystem spans tailored investment management, but also includes secured lending, detailed tax planning, and the legal setup of trusts and estates. There is a specific threshold where this strategy shifts. Once an individual accumulates a certain amount of capital, the primary goal moves from aggressive growth to preservation. Mitigating loss and managing taxes across generations becomes the dominant priority. To understand how this ecosystem operates, we look at a framework known as the wealth ladder. The industry is categorized into 4 distinct tiers, separated by an individual's total investable assets, the liquid capital they have available to invest. Moving up these tiers changes the scale of the money involved, but it also alters the mechanics of the operation. It changes who is managing the wealth and how much day-to-day control the client retains. The foundation of this ladder starts with the mass affluent, individuals with over $100,000 in investable assets. Above them are high net worth individuals, or HNWIs, who hold over $1 million. As detailed in these industry definitions, these foundational tiers are primarily serviced by commercial banks and independent financial advisors who provide planning for budgeting, savings, and investments. At this level, the standard operating procedure is advisory portfolio management. A firm or advisor recommends an ongoing investment strategy, but the client must approve every final transaction before it occurs. Alternatively, investors might opt for an execution-only basis. Here, the firm provides zero advice. The client simply uses the firm's infrastructure to carry out their own trades, making it the least expensive service. Both advisors and direct investors rely heavily on platforms to make this work. These are online hubs that provide the tools to view, analyze, and administer multiple separate investment accounts in one consolidated digital space. At these first 2 levels, the client is still steering the ship. They rely on their advisors for navigation or use digital platforms to execute their decisions, but the final authority remains in their hands. The dynamic changes at the 3rd rung, populated by very high net worth individuals possessing over $5 million in investable assets. This excerpt shows how private banks take over at this tier. They offer bespoke services, including complex estate planning, customized lending lines, and dedicated tax structuring targeted at this specific wealth level. Crossing this $5 million threshold introduces a specific mechanical shift in how capital is handled: discretionary portfolio management. Unlike the advisory level, discretionary managers are given the direct authority to make investment decisions within agreed parameters. They execute trades and rebalance portfolios without needing to ask the client for approval on every move. At this level, an individual is effectively purchasing their most valuable asset: time. By delegating the daily mechanics of every transaction, the client steps away from the operational burden of their own wealth. At the absolute peak of the ladder sit the ultra-high net worth individuals, those controlling over $30 million. Looking at this documentation of wealth management services, we see the scope expand into highly tailored territory. To handle these demands, the ultra-wealthy utilize family offices and private investment offices, entities created exclusively to manage a single family's entire financial and personal ecosystem. A single family office goes far beyond asset allocation. It absorbs the logistics of the family's entire life, managing philanthropic strategies, private school arrangements, and the governance of family-owned businesses. Because running a dedicated financial institution is expensive, many turn to multifamily offices. This provides a way for several wealthy families to pool their resources and share the heavy operational costs of these specialized services. At $30 million, you stop buying a financial service. The service becomes a self-contained private institution built entirely around protecting and expanding a single family's legacy. For decades, the borders between these wealth tiers were rigid. If you wanted hands-off, automated management in her capital, you had to clear the multi-million-dollar gates of the private banks. Financial technology is actively dismantling those barriers. The rapid rise of digital robo-advisors is pushing top-tier management strategies down the ladder. This text details the mechanics of robo-advice. Prospective investors enter their financial data, and the system uses an algorithm to score the information and automatically construct an investment strategy, usually built around index funds or ETFs. Functionally, these algorithms are mimicking the discretionary portfolio management previously reserved for the ultra-wealthy. They make autonomous decisions without needing client approval, but they offer this service to the mass affluent. The technology does have strict limitations. Algorithms are highly efficient at executing simple investment strategies, but they cannot replicate the human nuance required to draft complex estate plans or navigate the internal governance of a family business. Multi-generational wealth will always demand the human touch of a family office. But technology is democratizing the broader ecosystem, placing the sophisticated, hands-free financial tools once guarded by the 1% directly into the pockets of the everyday investor.